7 of the Paris Olympics' most striking images as classical artworks. As the 2024 Paris Olympics draws to a close, the BBC rounds up some of the most stunning photos captured from the Games and reveals their similarities to historic works of art. The ancient Olympic Games were already a quarter of a millennium old when, in 530 BC, an anonymous Greek artist, known today as the Running Man painter, adorned the body of a clay jug with a playful portrait of a muscular marathonist in full sprint. Suspended in mid-stride on the vessel's cylindrical surface, the figure's unforgettable flex of form and fleet-footed physique remind us that, since antiquity, athletic expressiveness and artistic expression have striven to keep pace with each other. The line between art and sport is a blurry one. To this day, the striking photos of exceptional Olympic moments that go viral resonate so powerfully, in part because they recall and reinforce iconic images from the history of visual culture that have helped shape our consciousness. We've seen these figures before, only now, they're real. What follows is a curated roundup of some of the most memorable photos captured during the 2024 Paris Olympics. Side by side with the paintings, drawings and sculptures whose contours they echo. Divers Magritte's Golconda. Anthony Harding and Jack Locker of Britain during the men's synchronized 3-meter springboard diving final. The choreographed cascade of parallel plunging bodies in a photograph of Great Britain's Anthony Harding and Jack Locker competing on 2 August in the men's synchronized 3-meter springboard diving final, boldly blurred the divers' falling flesh into a static rush of blue mist. The surreal sense of anthropomorphized rain calls to mind Belgian surrealist Ren Magritte's frozen shower of bowler-hatted men in his painting Golconda, which also seems to defy the gravity of logic and the logic of gravity. Swimmers Pollock's Blue Poles. An aerial photo of the colorful chaos of froth and flailing limbs, created when athletes competed in the swimming leg of the women's individual triathlon on 31 July, seemed a celebration of disorder. One must scrutinize the turbulent tapestry of water and tattoos in order to discern the fragmentary shape of an arm here or a leg there, as the furious scramble of muscle threatens to capsize our senses. The choppy surface calls to mind the mesmerizing melee of flung and dribbled pigment in us artist Jackson Pollock's painting Blue Poles, a canvas that conceals, under its intense tangle of splashes, shards of broken glass and the bloody footprints of the artist, who is said to have walked across the work while it was still wet. Gabriel Medina Garofalo's Ascension of Christ. The ultra-viral photo of Brazil's Gabriel Medina floating heavenward after tackling a huge wave off the French Polynesian island of Tahiti in round 3 of the men's surfing heats on 29 July, called countless religious representations of mystical ascension. What seemed to seal the surprising synchronicity of secular pose with spiritual ascent was Medina's raised right arm, and the thrust of his index finger, pointing precisely to where his body and soul appeared to be heading. Triathlon Raffaello Sposalizio. A message posted to X, formerly Twitter, on 31 July by a like-minded user of the social media platform intrigued the internet, attracting more than 5 million views. Beneath a TV screenshot, Emma Turnerba confessed that she was obsessed with the finish line in the men's triathlon. It's like a Renaissance piece. Precisely which canvas these various vignettes of kneeling, collapsing, embracing, and loitering brought to mind wasn't clear. A Veronese, perhaps? A Botticelli? Or perhaps it isn't the huddles of mind and muscle that rhymes with any particular painting, but the fabulous framing of the momentous scene, how it draws our eye, Raphael style, to the grandeur of a glistening palace in the distance. Boxers or Mahanri Young sculpture. It is the unsettling length of the accelerating arm, flying in from the right, and punctuated by a blood-red disembodied glove that is so, well, striking. The photo, which captures the disconnection between the eyes of Spain's Emmanuel Reyes, who sees the punch by Belgium's Victor Shellstreet coming, and his body's inability to stop the brutal blow, is jaw-dropping. Nearly a century ago, The sculptor Mahanri Young found himself hooked on a trip to Paris in 1926 by comparable hooks, which he translated into celebrated bronze sculptures of prizefighters. His unflinching statue right to the jaw is right to the point. Anthony John Jean, or Man Falling from the Sky. The tapering peak of the obelisk that rises behind French cyclist Anthony John Jean, captured in mid-air as he competes in the BMX freestyle events on 31 July, may be pointing upwards, but we all know which way gravity will ultimately drag him. However perilous, John Jean's weightlessness is exhilarating. The thrilling photo calls to mind the endlessly unended plummet of a figure in a 17th-century work on paper by an unknown Flemish artist, entitled Man Falling from the Sky. How exactly the imperiled figure wheeled his way to his elevated perch isn't immediately apparent. Like John Jean, like us, all he can do is keep on pedaling. Simone Biles, or Edmond Thomas Paris's flying figure. The split-second snap of us gymnast Simone Biles bolting horizontally through the air as she performs on the floor during the women's artistic team finals on 30 July, seems like a still from a superhero film. This is goddess-grade grace, and one could easily summon the floating elegance of any number of classical representations of winged figures, from Isis to Artemis, Aphrodite to Nike, to soar alongside Biles. Or perhaps the fleeting flight of an anonymous female flyer, magicked into eternal levitation from a few fragile lines of pencil by the 19th-century Indian artist Edmond Thomas Paris. Does the trick best its exquisite simplicity belying its brilliance?